Hold on. Let me
Am I shrinking?
Hold on. Let me return the favor.
Let me see these sneakers.
Favor, how you doing, champ?
I got mine in 530.
So
I got mine in 530.
Hey, I see it.
I just turned 60.
I see it.
Come on.
I see it. Hey, inside
on,
conversation.
man.
Look, anytime he see me over the years, first thing he'll do is, champ, how you doing? He gonna see if you've been eating right, if you've been living right. So I had to return the favor. Man, how you,
Absolutely.
he still got it.
Absolutely. Even to my opponents, like, that was one of my ways of starting a process in my head and my strategy is to see how soft or out of shape a guy is prior to us fighting. Like, we have these press conferences early on, and I said, okay, we got like 7-8 weeks, at least 15 pounds, 10 pounds he got to cut off. So I understand that has a lot to do with not the outcome, but it has a lot to do with the preparation. He got to work harder. He got 2 camps.
He got fat.
He got a camp.
Then strategy.
He got a camp. I like that. He got a fat camp, which to get the weight off, and then he got I gotta get a strategy now for who I'm fighting. Most fighters get ready for 2 camps: the fat camp, and the get ready camp.
Not us. Welcome back to another episode of The Art of War. Man, we on the East Coast today, Philly to be exact. The man I got sitting across from me today is a former undisputed middleweight king. He had the middleweight division in a chokehold for over 10 years. He defended his middleweight title 20 times. He's a former lineal light heavyweight champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, formerly known as the Executioner. Then he morphed into B-Hop the boxer, then the Alien. This man is known for his discipline. I want to give a warm welcome to the show, one of my mentors in the game, Bernard Hopkins.
What's up, Drake?
Man, brother, I appreciate you doing this, man. I know you're a busy man. You're supposed to be slowing down. You're supposed to be retired, but you don't look too retired, man, when I see you on social media and I see you moving around. So I appreciate the time today, man. And I want to get right into it because, you know, we got a good amount to get into. Man, take me back to your early years in North Philly, man, at the Raymond Rosen Projects. Tell me a little bit about that early time.
Well, it was a time that, you know, you had to actually be more aggressive than passive. And having a history in my family, mother and father have brothers that actually boxed, professional. Artie McLeod on my mother's side, Arthur McLeod, you call him Artie.
That's who brought you to the gym, right?
He brought me to Joe Frazier's gym here in Philadelphia, Borden Glenwood. Then on my mom's side, our father's side, Arthur and Juju Hopkins and a few other cousins that did some boxing, but not to the point of a professional. They went to the amateurs and they stopped. So it was embedded in the Hopkins family on both sides.
Yeah.
I have it in my DNA.
Now, it's kind of, you know, when I do the research, it's kind of spotty. Was your father around? Was he in and out?
Yeah, he was around. My dad was around, but my mom was more of the discipline out of both. Like my father, senior, he was around. I seen my father basically every day.
Really?
But
Was he in the house?
He lived around the corner. He was in the house, and then my mom and my dad, of course, they split, but it seemed like they haven't split because he was just around the corner and called Weaver Street. We on Sharpneck Street, and that's literally a block away with a block in between called Burt Ann Street. So when you have these 2 or 1 block in between, I see my dad every day. He was very, very, like what I say, active in a different way. Means that I always seen him to be able to have some conversations with him. When my amateur short career was happening, he used to always ask me what I'm fighting, and I'll tell him, but he never show up.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things. He had his substance problems.
Okay.
Substance problems, and I understood that as I got into my early teenage years, like maybe 13, 14.
So you dabbled in the amateur boxing, but you wasn't committed.
I was committed until I started getting into the street, activities, and that's when I stopped being committed.
Well, talk to me about that, because when did you jump off the porch? When did you go from just seeing the activity outside, hearing about it, to saying, man, I want to participate?
First of all, let me answer that even further about the commitment. I went all the way up to the JOs. I went all the way up to the Ohio State Fairs with Together Brothers Club. Together Brothers Club is ran by a guy named Mr. Jazz Jarrett. He works for Chrysler Gang Intervention. That was a program in Philadelphia years ago that got young youth off the streets of Philadelphia. So that part of career took me into a level where I became like respected in the neighborhood, and I became respected from my family in the neighborhood, and that's where that became something of a I'm a champ right now. Back then, like I'm somebody right now, and that I guess led me to believe that I ran the neighborhood. I came the neighborhood.
Even at that age?
Even at that age.
How old were you?
I was knocking out old dudes, man. Like, when I say old dudes, if I'm 12, 13, I'm knocking out guys 17, 18, 19.
In the gym or in the streets?
No, streets, both.
Come on.
Yeah, I had more knockouts in the streets than I had in the gym. See,
Come
but
on,
you didn't.
man.
See, because I'm going to answer the other question, too, when you ask me the question again.
Yeah.
My nicknames in the street wasn't the executioner and fighting. It wasn't the alien, it wasn't B-Hop, it was Heads.
Heads?
I was Heads, and my brother that was behind me, year behind me, as far as age, Michael right now would have been 59, right? I just turned 60 in January. They called me Heads and they called him Baby Heads. He had this little short amateur career. He had the reputation of, my whole family, even my 4 sisters can throw jab, right hand, left foot right now. Right? All my sisters. Never had a problem with boyfriends.
That's right.
They never called me, they took care of themselves.
That's right.
But that is embedded in our DNA.
When did the criminal activity start taking place? How did you go from that to I want to play in the streets now?
13, 14, all the way up to young adult.
Was Pops hearing about it? Was he speaking to you about that at all, or he just wasn't able to?
Well, I'm pretty sure he heard about it, but I never heard it. He never came to me and approached me with it because that was part of the life he came up in. Before we moved uptown, North Philly, then uptown. I grew up around the area of Robert Hines, Bam Bam Hines, and all that stuff like that. And Philadelphia was known for fighting and known for having fighters. So it was normal, which wasn't normal, to your son is doing this, or your son took this, or your son robbed this. I never had a gun. I never had a knife. I never had a bat. I strong arm, and I'm not bragging about it to the point of glorifying it, but I'm just letting you understand that I knew if I get caught strong arm compared to a gun, I know my time would be lesser. I was always thinking positive, even in a negative mind. If I run into a situation when I do get caught, or I do get told on, or I get somebody have repercussions on what happened yesterday in the future.
So the charge that you ultimately ended up going to prison for, I thought it was armed robbery. So was it strong arm?
It was
robbery?
strong arm. It's been saying armed robbery. It's all strong robbery.
So you didn't play with guns and all that?
I never played with guns. I never played with guns or knife. I've been stabbed twice by 2 different people, but I never played with guns.
So the street life escalated, as we know that it will eventually. You know, it's only a couple ways you're gonna get out of that.
Right.
And you get sentenced to Greaterford State Prison at 17 years old, and you get 5 to 15 years.
Yeah.
When you heard that sentence come down, what were you thinking?
It's time now to be straight up man now. If I thought I was who I was prior to being in front of that judge, this is the time now, right? Not in actions actually, but mentally. Like even the things that I've learned over the years, Dre, I had back then, but I didn't discover it back then. My instinct said, I heard about Greaterford. My old heads is at Greaterford and been there before I turned 11, 12 years old, who grew up with my father, who knew my dad when I got there. And everybody say they know this person in your family don't necessarily mean they know your family. They might not know, or they might know of your family. They might tell you that to make you feel comfortable. So there's a lot of things that I had to actually look at in a situation as the only friend I have in there is me. The only person I trust in there is me. Until otherwise, that has to be a process.
But how long did it take you once you got to prison to realize that this is how I gotta survive, this is the mindset? Streets is different than prison. So when did you shift your mindset to a prison mentality from a street mentality? How long did it take?
It didn't take long at all, because before I went and got my time, before the judge gives you your state time, you got county time and you got state time. You got county court means you go back and forth to court until you get state time. In Pennsylvania, anything over 12 months is considered state, right? So I was getting groomed, they groom you in the county. You go back and forth to court, that's the process. Once you get past that process, you either graduate to go to college, which is the penitentiary, y'all like that, right? Or you stay in the county and have county life, means you can have 3 11.5 to 23s. 11 months and a half, right? It's not the 12, so they keep you in the county. So you can have county life, they call it. We come up with this name called county life. You can get 3 11.5 to 15s 3 times, but you don't go upstate. Most people don't want to go upstate. Upstate, state prison, right? Totally different ball game, right? So I was groomed in Holmesburg on Charlesdale Avenue, closed down, still there now, look like Alcatraz. In Pennsylvania, like Alcatraz. From there, groomed to graded for. Now, what do you mean grooming? You understood in Holmesburg, anybody see this podcast anywhere else in Pennsylvania, or have some idea, or look it up, they would see how scary and how spooky and how Halloweenish it looks. So when you go to those elements, and then you wind up now getting your state time, you got your brown boots that I took home after my sentence. I still got those boots. I had those boots before my first professional fight.
The reminder.
Those brown khakis, even though you dress sharp, they remind me of the uniform, yeah. But it was more of a rust color, a dark tan color, uniform. Buttons, everybody dressed the same. So I remember the uniform, I have the boots, and that's when you know that you in the really sort of military penitentiary, that you must now understand that this is the big boys.
Yeah, you gotta man up. Now your mother, man, she lost a son in '84?
Shirley Mae Hopkins, correct.
And then she loses another son to
the same year.
The state prison system.
The same year.
How's your mother dealing with that?
Hard, very hard. My mom passed away at 58. Here I'm 60 and I feel like I'm kicked in my second or third life based on the trials and tribulations, and most of it I put myself through. But Shirley was, man, see, she never tried to be the dad. She always been the mom that came there to say that she ain't gonna come no more to get you, but as soon as you get locked up again, I don't know how the hell she got there before I even got to the station. The neighborhood told her that Bernard got locked up on Germantown Avenue. The word got around quick. She was on her way down there, the 10th time or 15th time. And it gets to a point where now, it gets to the point now that, times she didn't come right away, but because she knew she couldn't help me. Mm-hmm. The bell was too high. They set the bell high because of my record priors. So, I took her through a lot, but I also remember the good parts and the good things, that everything she said, even to the day, whether it's relationships or not, or business, absolutely right. But Dre, what's important too? That I always remember, and it sort of don't even up what I took her through, but to see her on an airplane and travel places through my boxing, and to be able to say, here's the keys. I told you I ain't want to move from this house. I'm cool. All right, it's going to be empty. Right. To have her sitting places that she didn't imagine sitting, and a person that took her out of all the 7 kids is in the position to take her and show her the life she always watched on TV.
That's powerful.
That's, to me, was scripted without my doing. It was laid down for her to be here for that time, to be able to experience that she come to see me in the penitentiary. And I told her, I said, Mom, when my brother got killed, that prison ain't changed me. And when people hear that, whether it's doing a book or movie, they always say the prison changed you. Everybody, that's the concept. That's what people see when they read. No, until you ask me, and I got receipts to prove it. It was when my brother got killed. And the individual that killed my brother was in the same prison until they locked me down in a hole because of repercussions between the people that had my...
Did you ever cross paths with him?
No, between the people that had my back and the people he might have knew or didn't know, didn't matter. It was gonna be something. I wouldn't be here.
You was gonna do something.
I wasn't gonna be here. They was gonna do something. I was already dug in, means I was already embedded in the community of the prison, and I was already their champion. I was the state penitentiary boxing champion as a middleweight for 3 years out of the 5 years. I became champion before I became world champion. See, there are so many things out there called receipts that I had personally that it was my destiny to be where I'm at and be able to talk about it clearly and freely after 30 years of the sweet science of boxing in the ring and don't miss a beat. That's a powerful.
It's powerful.
And I wanted to give my mom that opportunity to see me in a successful, positive light. And it was because she lost 2 sons in '84. I said this story many times, the same way I'm saying now. And you read this, because I said it. She lost 2 sons in 1984. It was a rough year for her. '83, the Sixers won the last championship. I remember that, because I got booked like that November of '83, got my time in '84, and boom. For her to get through that and know that she got 2 sons that ain't gonna walk in that door. One already dead, and the other one looked like, I can die in there. People got killed and graded for it. People got stabbed up, lost their eye, got hit in the head with a lock in the sock. That was a famous weapon in prison. They double a sock up so it won't come through the sock. And, once the lock bursts through the sock, they double it up, knock a section out of your head.
The whole section, that's crazy.
You get real creative in a lot of ways in that situation where you gotta become inventors. Whether it's weapons or anything else, you get to use the best that you have to the best of your ability. And that what made me understand the process of my time that I have here. And even back then, there's no time to waste on procrastinating.
I'm gonna talk about your release in a second, but you met Nazeem Richardson inside, right?
I met Nazeem inside prison when he was coming in graded for it with amateur fighters for us to fight. And then we connected based on saying, you live here, I live there, neighborhood. He lived uptown and I live uptown.
I thought he was an inmate.
No, Nazeem never did no time.
He never did no time?
Look up Nazeem ain't did no time.
Man, I thought y'all met in Graterford as...
See, that's why this story gotta be told. Brother Nazeem never did no time. You can ask Sharp, you can ask the twins, Rockin' Tiger. You can ask anybody. Brother Nazeem was a rapper back in the day. I have the old album.
Hey, man, I didn't know that. That's
Why
crazy.
you think Brother Nazeem used to always come with the hooks and be saying this and saying that? Brother Nazeem never did no time.
Wow.
I met Smokey Wilson. I met a lot of trainers in the penitentiary because they had a boxing program that was attached to the boxing program in the AAU. They used to bring fighters from Pennsylvania, Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, outside of Pennsylvania, and guess who they used to come there to fight? The boxing program in the penitentiary. They don't have that no more. About 5 years after I started getting on ESPN, they cut out the program. They couldn't fund it no more. But there was boxing in the state penitentiary, which is over 30 penitentiaries in the state of Pennsylvania, with boxing shows or boxing program attached to the AAU with Charlie Daniels at Camp Hill. So from here to Pittsburgh, and in the middle, they got penitentiaries. 20 years ago, they had boxing. That's how I got back on track. Drake, and everybody listening, I'm confident to say that if they didn't have amateur boxing in the penitentiary as a recreation attached to the amateur Pennsylvania commission, I wouldn't be sitting here having this interview with you.
What's going on? It's Barack the Boxing Bully, and we got some heat coming your way. Fights you don't want to miss. Jump in on all the action right now with our partners, DraftKings.
Caleb Plant, he's back out there on May 31st. How should he win this fight?
He has momentum. Andre Durrell, knockout. Really good fight against David Benavidez. Then he got another knockout, McCumbee. He's on a nice momentum run right now, so maintain that against a guy that you're supposed to look good against. He's different. He's one of those guys that he gets up to fight whoever it is. This is not the guy he wanted to fight. This is not the guy we want to see him fight.
He wants Berlanga. He wants Charlo. He wants those names.
This is a setup for the Charlo fight.
Right.
They both fighting on the same card. This is a setup for the Charlo.
Makes sense, and I think that fight is going to happen. You definitely don't want to miss these explosive fights, so check out all DraftKings has to offer. But when signing up, use the promo code ATSFIGHTS. The crown is yours.
DraftKings have something for every sports fan in the world. Have some fun. Check out all that our partners at DraftKings has to offer via the app or the website. Get in on all the action.
You're moving too slow. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Go download the DraftKings app right now. But don't forget, use my promo code ATSFIGHTS. Level up your fight night experience. All the Smoke fighters headed to the Hall of Fame. That's right. This year's International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend in boxing's hometown, Canastota, New York, takes place from Thursday, June 5th through Sunday, June 8th, ending with an annual ceremony immortalizing boxing's all-time greats.
The International Boxing Hall of Fame are hosting fan events and experiences all weekend long. On Friday night, June 6th, Salida Promotion will present a terrific fight card in association with All the Smoke Fight, live on DAZN from the Turning Stone Resort Casino in Verona, New York. Featuring USBA heavyweight champion Brandon Moore, defending his title against undefeated prospect Stanley Wright in the main event. Plus a stacked undercard featuring world champion Franchon Cruz DAZN and rising prospects JJ Pagan and DeVell Smith.
Sounds to me, we're gonna have a great fight night. And of course, Sunday, the ceremony to induct the class of 2025. Legends like Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, Michael second to none, and the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Paz.
Join All the Smoke Fight and Salida Promotion at Turning Stone Resort Casino for this year's International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend.
Hey listen, visit turningstone.com for accommodations and tickets to Friday's fight night. Visit ibhof.com for the full induction weekend schedule.
You do 5 off the 15,
Yeah,
and you walking out of the prison.
with the back time.
Yeah.
In 1988, crack cocaine,
So if you
fast
reoffend, you
money.
coming back to do that 10 years.
Say what?
If you reoffend, you coming back to do that 10. If you have 5 to 15,
Yeah,
that really
that's-
is.
that's
You
track
coming back,
back.
they gonna get that 10 from you.
Oh, they want, no. If you get found guilty, they want their time back and they can add on, but you get that 10, you might get 8, 7 out of 10, depending on what you did, depending on that. But you getting something if you don't get off, correct.
But when you walking out of the prison, what does the prison guard tell you as you leaving?
The superintendent's the warden, not the guard. He's a little higher than that, the guard. I'm walking out, box in hand, letters, right? Cards, pictures, all my personal belongings. Everything else you get to people because they want the inmates. But hey, man, give me that brush, you don't need that brush. So I'm walking out. You understand? I'm 3-time state champion. I'm leaving telling them I'm gonna be on ESPN with John Wesley Meek because I can beat all of them.
They not trying to hear it.
They looking at me and the warden, superintendent they call him. See, warden back in the day, Schindler List and all that, the movies back, and they call it the warden. They call it right now, they call it the superintendent. All right, you'll be back in 6 months. So I seen a guy named Buddy Rush. Why do I know him? Because he the one that let you out to the gym. He was the top senior superintendent there. So when they let us out, when they let me out and I'm leaving, I'm there. People on the second tier, third tier, some looking happy, some looking, you know, there was some haters, but there's also some people glad to see me go and like, yo, go, man, be the champ, win that champ, man, you can do that, you can do it. So there was a lot of inspiration. There was a lot of people there that respected me, and I earned that, right? When I heard 6 months, I looked, smiled, and I just kept going. 9 out of 10, they would have been right. If you look at the statistics in my life and in society, that was a good call. But I never forget the warden. I mention that statement all the time. When someone tell me I can't do something, now or then, I hear the warden. Whether it's big or small, whatever it is, you can't get that property, you can't buy those 80 units. And I'm in the city of Philadelphia, my town, you mean to tell me I ain't gonna get none of this? Affordable housing, I'm gonna make it real affordable, not the game, just to get the 5-year, 10-year business tax and then sell it and make it non-affordable. Nah, I'm locking it down. Right? So when you start doing these things and you start thinking this way, you become a threat. And so I'm an execution in a different way today in 2025. But I also understand that my mission, now that I completed the commercial of my life and my career, to let them know who I am coming through the door, because we live in this country, they thrive on who you are, not what you actually do, unfortunately. Why can't I have both? Why can't I have both? Why can't you? It takes time, it takes struggle, and it also takes losses and it takes wins. Come on with it, because I heard the warden.
So that you get out 88, you only out about 9 months before you have your first pro fight.
Clinton Mitchell, 1988, Resort Casino.
You lose that, but you go on a
Four-rounder.
You go on a nice run now.
Yeah.
You on a nice run, 22 straight wins, about a 4-year run, and this gets you to be ranked #1 by the IBF to face Roy Jones Jr. in Washington, D.C. Talk me through that fight, the first fight y'all had.
Roy Jones Jr. and I squared off for a vacant title, vacant by James Lights Out Tony.
IBF.
Correct. Tony went up to 168. The belt is vacant. I won it. Roy Jones won it. Let's have it. Butch Lewis is my promoter. I believe top rank was Roy Jones. We squared off at RFK Stadium. Riddick Bowe and Jesse Ferguson was the main event heavyweight championship fight. To be on that platform of a heavyweight championship fight, coming out of the situation I came, understanding that I told the guys on the block, I'm going to be on ESPN, but now I'm on HBO. This is time. Roy outclassed me, outpointed me, but he also did something that he didn't expect. He made me a better fighter.
How so?
Look at the record after the Roy Jones fight in 1993. Look at the achievements from 1993. Look how it motivated me. Look how it educated me. Look how I knew how to deal with it going to Quito, Ecuador, fighting Segundo Mercado in his homeland and getting a draw after knocking him down twice and get the draw as a win. Then we come back to the States and I win in 95 and I become the IBF champion that Roy Jones vacated. And the story and the history was built from 95 until I, 12 or 11 years later, with 20 plus defenses.
That first fight with Roy, as you just mentioned, about a year and a half later, you got another shot. And for the middleweight title in Ecuador. And that's a rough fight for you. You still think you won? Because he dropped you twice.
He dropped me twice.
What did you learn from that situation, being against Segundo Mercado?
What I learned from that situation, under the Don King promotion, hostile hostility all over in that country. They was at war with Peru at that time. I never forget it, Ecuador. And to fight Segundo, because I beat his brother, Jovine Mercado, on ESPN, knocked him out. 2.5 years before then. Jovine Mercado, Segundo Mercado. Well, Segundo, I fought for the championship. I get over in Ecuador, hostility all over. Nobody doing us any favors. Get knocked down twice. Energy level is shoom, like a video game, like that altitude. And getting there less than 4 or 5 days didn't help me. And it's not because of our plans, because of the strategy of the other side. I get it. To buckle down and get knocked down twice and fought the way I fought, I took that draw, knowing that the fight's going to be in the States. If you can't beat me in Ecuador, if you can't knock me out in Ecuador, getting there 4 days before the fight took place in 11,000 plus, like Denver, Colorado, above sea level, then they knew it was over. When I say they, his promoter, Don King and everybody else. So we go in Orlando, Maryland, we fight and I knock him out and I become the IBF champion in 1995.
On the third try, 30 years old.
On the second try.
Second try. Well, you got the draw. Yeah, I guess so, yeah,
Yep.
third try. But
Yep.
it took you a third try because you got the draw.
Oh yeah, from the
You know
Roy
what I'm saying?
Jones.
Yeah, you
Correct.
got Roy and then you got the draw.
Right.
And then you
Correct.
finally got that. What changed for you at that time? Like you became a champion. What changed for you back home? What changed for you in your mentality? People around you? What changed when you became world champion?
Ain't too much change with me because most people that I was around know how I am and know who they dealing with when they, approach me with anything on their mind. I'm gonna have something for them. So I didn't get, Dre, I didn't get like you the champ, you got 20, 30, $40 million. But even though I had people that, will find a way to try to, see what they can get and benefit, but it wasn't to a point that I couldn't control anything, but it was more of happiness. It was more of you did it. It was more of you came from where we came from. It was more of shock to most of them. Most people were shocked. They were shocked, like, hold up. We know where you came from. We know what you've been through. Some of us was a part of that. And now you come through your own neighborhood, right, where you kept the house that you grew up in, right, because nobody else could afford to keep it. And I wanted to keep these things to be able to come back and say, not here I am, but more of I told you so. So I'm a told you so guy. Even to the day, I'm a told you so. You screw me, you do right by me, I will tell you, I told you so. And these are the things that I live by.
Butch Lewis was your promoter at that time?
Yeah, that was my big promoter at the time.
You ain't tell Butch about putting them bow ties on, man, and them tuxes on without no shirt. You ain't talk to him about that?
No, I ain't talking. The Chippendale, it was like the Chippendales or something. But Butch, he pulled that. He pulled. I wouldn't do it.
I can't pull it off, right?
So, but that was his trademark.
Yeah. It definitely got your attention for sure.
And he got me in a position, the politics and of getting your fighter in that position. Is you know how it is. It takes some wiggling and twisting, and I got there by both. I got there by having somebody speak highly of me behind closed doors, and also I had to go in there and do my business.
97, you got a lawsuit against Butch.
Yep.
2000, I think it is. America Presents. You don't have to go deep into detail, but
I don't have no problem. I won the case.
yeah, I got you.
It says when you
But
win.
you started. But my question, though, let me
win, Dre. You can say
can't
what
say-
you want to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Long as it's to the book.
But when did the business start becoming real to you? When you start waking up to the game, and say, hold on, I deserve more.
When did I start understanding the business, or when did I start learning the game? Numbers. I always been good with numbers. I'm not a school geek, never was, but what I learned from the streets is learn how to count. You had to count fast and quick before everybody see you.
Right, straight
And
up.
then, Dre, through boxing and through other trials and tribulations, I had to learn quick in the business of boxing. I had to learn how the $750,000 paid out to the fighter reduced down to $250. $750 to $250,000 is over $400-something thousand missing. That disturbed me without having any knowledge where I'm gonna start and who I'm gonna ask. How can this be? My suspicious, and one thing that I've always had, got it from my mama, intuition. And I became newsy and suspicious about how a number so large to me at that time, and still is, get reduced down to $250,000 that I've never seen in my life. And that started my request or my motivation to learn the game. See, some get stung and they don't mind getting stung again. I didn't like it. So I wanted to realize, I came to a realization that I must learn the business and learn how this happens and how to learn how to stop it. And I'm still fighting that to today. In the business of the game of boxing, it's a game to them, but it's life and death for us. Even while we are alive, if you are, say, ignorant to the business, or you ignorant to letting others handle your business, which they signed up for, and you gave them the right because of what they do, you must learn to understand as much as you can that you might not can do everything, but you must take time to peek and look at your account. You have to look at your spreadsheet. You have to ask questions. And it's going to rub those who not in your best interest. As time go on, they might start off as, but they might not end as they started off.
But that's how I go, right? It's like when a fighter, I'm gonna use boxing. It's really sports in general, but I'm gonna use boxing. When the athlete focuses on the business, they want to tell you, oh, it's just a sport. Just focus on the sport. But if you focus just on the sport and you neglect the business, and then you end up not having what you're supposed to have, oh, he should have took care of his business. These athletes, man, you know, they always end up broke. So if you focus on the business, it's just a sport. Just work on that.
It's the jab that they give you to say that, to keep you distracted, to keep you do this. And the right hand is they
Tucked
do that.
away, yeah.
Or they sign this, they sign that. Dre, it's always going to be a fight in a business way between the athlete and the persons that's dealing with the business side. Most of them, not all, but most of them think that because of their position, they have more intelligence than you because of what you do. Yes, it's stereotype. They would never admit it. But there's stereotypes of positioning or positions that people are in based on the position you are in. And you could be making $50, $60, $100 million as a basketball player. You think they look at that and that doesn't make you smart. No. That's your athleticism and a good agent. But the person behind
They're not respecting this though.
No. So when you start asking questions, you can be like, well, why are you asking that? No, concentrate on, you've been told the same thing.
But even beyond, you start asking questions and then you start making moves.
You've been told the same thing.
If I'm asking
concentrate on boxing.
Yeah. But if I start asking certain questions and I'm not getting the right answers,
You got to make a move.
It's gonna go from me talking to some action. Now I gotta make some moves. Cause I'll give you an opportunity. I mean, let me talk to you about this. Ain't looking right. I'm not gonna go straight to a lawsuit or, nothing like that. But like, we gotta talk man to man if we in business together. And as long as you shooting straight with me, we good.
Right.
But it's like, I used to get upset about that. I used to get real upset about that when I used to see that because I was a fighter, people, or even the business people, the suits, they treated you a certain type of way. What I realized is that was one of my greatest superpowers, because you underestimated me coming in the door. And I could see you not everybody, but I could see certain ones that had a disposition, or I could hear what they say and it informed me on where they was at.
That's to our advantage.
Right, but it took me some time though.
But see, because you wanted to fight it.
I wanted to fight him like, man, just because I fight, don't look at me like that.
And clarify to make people understand you wanted to fight it. We're not talking physical.
No.
You wanted to prove that, hey, look.
Negotiating table.
You wanted to make sure that, look, whatever is else out there of other history of fighters, whatever, I'm not that. They still won't believe you.
Well, this is going to end one day.
Correct.
This is going to end one day.
It will.
Now, how it ends, that remains to be seen, but it's going to end one day. And if I don't have what I'm supposed to have, but y'all driving fancy cars and taking big vacations.
And sending their kids to the best schools.
Yeah, and then I'm out here struggling trying to figure it out, we got a problem.
You got the fame and they got the fortune.
Yeah, see, I don't care about the fame.
You got the fame and they got the fortune. And you watch me, Dre. You watch me go against the powers to be. You watch me speak at the Senate hearings when everybody, gold medal winners, silver medal winners, guys in my era, all of them. And I'm not saying they're bad people, they was told not to go. Or they didn't have what I had in me. I got the Muhammad Ali January baby spirit. I got the George Foreman January baby spirit. I got the Roy Jones Jr. January spirit, even though he didn't show. But let me tell you something. When I was asked by the Senate, Senator McCain at that time, God rest his soul, and Elliot Spitzer, these powerful men at that time, asked me to come and speak in Washington, D.C. about why it should be a bill which they named the Muhammad Ali Act. And the Muhammad Ali Act is a bill that gives a fighter at least what we never had in the history of boxing business, an opportunity to see what's there and sign off at every major fight or every fight that they have to the day at 2025. My blood is on that. They will never tell you, they never put it up because it's not news. But let me tell you, this is something I'm proud of. Like Satchel Paige, God rest his soul, when he stood up for the Negro League and the players, Satchel Paige, anybody know about baseball? I know about the history of Satchel Paige. He stood up when it wasn't popular. Just like other athletes, woman or man, stood up when others who had the power, who had the fanfare, who had the legendary status, didn't do. The special ones, the unique ones that come across our generation, every generation to have one or two of those individuals that step up and go against the grain. Did I leave millions on the table being who I am today and back then? Absolutely. Because I'm not going to sell out me. It ain't necessarily the community that I love, it's me first. Am I going to be in the position to be it's easy to be just like everybody else. It's easy to go along, to be along, or feel like that you are going to lose out on opportunities, which I have. I know for a fact I have. But today, in 2025, they know that they got a serious problem with me because not only am I still alive, but I'm alive and healthy. And I sound just as good and clear that I did before I took a punch and in between the 30 years of a punch. And I believe, inshallah, that I will be in the same position 10 or 15 years later. I told people many times, what you don't do in your 20s, you got to make up in your 40s. What you don't do in your 40s, you got to make up. What you do in your 20s, you got to make up in your 30s. What you do in your 30s, you got to make up in your 40s. It's a numbers game. This is a numbers game. And when I hear man, Bernard, you 60, man. You look like you 40s. I said, because of my lifestyle. Yes, genetics have something to do with it. My grandmother lived to 99, but my mom died at 58. So which one you want to go with? I want to be the example, and I'm going to be the example, because they ain't going to give you nothing. I'm going to be the example of what? Not only speaking about it before it happens, I told you about the receipts. I told you about the greater foot boots. I said things that I kept over the years. My wife, Joy, would tell you, the stuff I got in my home, in rooms, in boxes, and tapes, and VCR tapes, and DVDs, and footage, and stuff that I kept. Why did you keep all this stuff? Because I knew I would be telling this story one day. The jewelry that I thought that was important at that time, the rings, the watches, the Jacob watches, is this. All the things that I believe, this like majority of our population and our community believe, that to be successful, coming from where we come from, we must show that we're successful by having things that depreciate once we buy it. These are the things that I talk to colleges, students, and everybody else that want to listen, that listen. I kept this stuff because as I evolved, I knew that it was better for me to keep this jewelry and these diamonds and all this stuff that I got. It's like, got to be over $500,000 for jewelry based on what they'll give you for it. But I paid for most of the stuff. It wasn't all consignment. I must keep this for evidence. I've been guilty of keeping receipts of the past. So when I show these things that I had then and what they hear coming out of my mouth now, they're like, these are business people. These are college students. They're looking at like, you wore that big EX chain with the diamonds that big on your neck? I said, yeah. How much you pay for it? $300,000, $200,000. Well, how much they want to give you for it? $20,000. Listen, man.
Math ain't mathing.
And I'm not embarrassed. I'm letting them know, because y'all see me now and you see me now, I'm letting you know, you can avoid being broke after your job career, athletic career, by understanding and getting it earlier than most haven't. And they are the things, and these are the things that make me mindful or keep me mindful of what I do today, next year, and the year before that.
You're on the other side now. You've been on the other side for a long time. And sometimes what can happen is you can despise something, but then you become it. But I heard a quote that you said, and I want you to repeat it, and then tell me, how are you making a change now that you're on the other side as a promoter?
Let me tell you, when I was fighting a guy named Arrigue in Philadelphia, Temple at a stadium down on Broad Street, Temple University Stadium, I wanted to bring a fight to Philadelphia, and that's when we announced to everyone, and it's in a program. I had the program. I have me and my partner, Oscar De La Hoya, with the contract. We had just signed, and we wanted to tie it into that fight in Philadelphia. And one of the quotes, well, the quote, our challenge won't be whether fighters want to come to us, a gold medal winner, and also undisputed Hall of Famer, 2 Hall of Famers, is we don't become those who we despise. I'm gonna say that again. Our biggest challenge won't be whether a fighter want to come to Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy or promotion in Bernard Hopkins. It will be that we don't become those who we despise. And everybody know from the history of boxing, there are names you can put there. Everybody got a story, including you. I put the target on my back way back then, 23 years ago. And I was still active as a promoter back then and a owner. I am an owner of Golden Boy based on my percentage. I can't get into the contract, but based on my percentage, I am an owner.
Exactly.
Shareholder, that's whatever you want to call it, but I'm an owner. But I cannot, even though I would try, and even though I have tried, to stare certain things that I seen that wasn't correct, either with fighter's decision from a judge, Tevin Former, who's fighting in Cancun, have a rematch with Cepeda because of my hollering, screaming for right and justice, for we won't be those who we despise, means that it was the judges, but it's our duty
Do something about it.
to do something about it, to bring light to it, and not bring light to it and then flick the light off. We must bring the light to it and then turn the lights on. There's a difference.
Expose it, yeah.
I did it, we did, and we got it done. We must understand, Golden Boy, especially now with the new change and the resources that's being pumped into boxing to make the better fights that we all craving for. But you must be conscious of some that want to take the tradition of capitalizing on ignorance of those who don't know. And that's what I will expose very, very soon. Because to me, when I hear fighters say certain things and there are receipts out there that I can get to because of our relationship with people that respect us and people that respect Dre. There's certain things, pick up a phone call and you would get that clarification. And then you would get it if you needed to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I will have breaking news soon, but I got to get receipts to be accurate. I'm one of those individuals, from those who know me, know that I am a expressive guy. And Dre, you said something early that I've been going by for many, many decades of my life, is that most people think if I know something, I will let them know and I will tell it. And it ain't emotionals, it's intellect over that. But since they think they know me, which most think they do, when they underestimate my patience, and then I know how to not say anything, but say a lot, I have them more under control than they think they got my number. What they don't think you know is to your advantage to not let them know.
Chess.
That is key. And you said the word chess. I'll volunteer Oscar and everybody else to play chess with me. He have a chessboard in his office. I will ask them again in the time of the future. See, chess was one of the most important things in the prison that I was at for 5 years, because you can lose a lot in chess, even your life, because you didn't pay up what you lost. And a lot of other things you can lose when you play chess, because it's betting. Nobody plays chess for free. And I'm not saying I'm a master, but I like challenges. And part of playing chess is when most think you're going to move here or move there, you must set them up for the long game. The long game could be a short game, but a long game is in patience. And that patience is very, very, very key, because most people, unfortunately, and it's a lesson that they can never master because they are who they are. I do believe, different than most people believe, that you can always learn as long as you're still here. I believe that there are people that will not would not ever submit to being who they are. And I come to years of realizing, whether it's boxing or life, that when someone tell you and then they show you who they are, Dre, you gotta believe them, man. You gotta believe who they are. Even though you don't want to believe them, that they can be great for this particular individual or this sport or that entity or this. You have to understand and come to grips with yourself that, nah, it's your fault. You gotta look at you and say, they're telling you who they are, they showed you who they are, and you're gonna debate with them? We're not talking about a kid here that have room to change. So I came to grips with that years ago in a lot of situations, and I just play, and I'm gonna take a hook from Roy Jones. He didn't invent it, but he said it at one of his fights. I'll be your Huckleberry. Tombstone, Wild Earp. I use or portray that in a lot of business deals, in a lot of what they think I don't know, what they not expecting me to know. And I go in there like, okay. And I listen, take a second, hey, Rika, they probably when I leave, that's good. And I'm like,
I ain't going for that. What you come in there, what you start with is not what you leave with.
it's all.
Yeah.
But it ain't all just this. It comes action.
Yeah.
See, when you talked about action, but it has to process. And then the few around you must be in line of their individual ingredients that they want, because that's gonna help you, the right people. Their motivation is for you to win. When you're around people like a team that want you to win,
It's a beautiful thing.
it's a beautiful thing, Dre.
Man, we could talk about this business stuff all day, but we got a illustrious career we got to keep getting through, man. And so you win the world title, man, and you go on a run now. You start beating guys like John David Jackson, who worked with you and was a trainer for you at one point in time. Glenn Johnson, early Glenn Johnson, not old Glenn Johnson, but
Undefeated.
Yes, early Glenn Johnson.
24-0.
Andrew Council, Simon Brown, Robert Allen twice, Antoine Eccles twice.
Times.
3 times.
3 mandatories.
So
Politics.
we here now, 2001. When did you first get word of a Don King 4-man tournament?
Right after, let me see, 4-man tournament. I had a mandatory, and I don't recall the name, but I know I had a mandatory. And we got a call, and during a middleweight tournament for the undisputed middleweight championship that haven't been since Marvin Hagler. Whew. I'm like, okay, is it real, first of all?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
Because
the
we're dealing
first
with Don
reaction.
King. I mean, we're dealing with DK. So I'm like, I gotta make sure that this ain't a prank or anything else. And then second, the most important thing is, look, I got 8 or 9 defenses at the time, maybe 10. I wanna make sure that my worth, before we even talk about undisputed, I wanna make sure that not only do I get paid, I get paid right. So we got through the business part.
But tell me if this is right or not. I heard you and Don were fighting or going back and forth about the money all the way up until the first press conference to
Correct.
kick it off. Like that's when y'all signed and said, okay,
Correct.
we got a deal.
Correct.
Took him all the way to the wire.
I took him all the way to the wires. He was coming with like $2.5 million for the undisputed. Nah. I said, we got to get more than that. And I held off, and he came right.
Yeah, he got it right.
Right, he came right. And I didn't share it in any pay-per-view. So that's why I knew I had
I need
to
that
get
guarantee, yeah.
I had to get the guarantee.
Yeah.
So it was north of 4, but not under, 3. So it was in the middle, and I took that opportunity and said, this is what I'm gonna do.
So it's Bernard Hopkins, Felix Trinidad,
William Joppy.
Keith Holmes, and William Joppy.
Correct.
Joppy for what, Maryland or DC?
Where did we fight?
Jop, where was he from? Maryland or DC?
I believe Maryland.
Maryland. Now you and Felix Trinidad are the last two standing. Take me through the first time you threw the flag down. This is for the build-up for the Undisputed Championship in the 3-belt era. And I think Ring Magazine was on the line, so it's lineal.
September 15, 2001. That was the original date.
Tell me about, this is the build-up before the fight happens. The first flag goes down, you throw the flag down in New York. Tell me if I'm wrong, y'all had a
Correct.
peace treaty.
Correct.
We're not gonna talk about the flag thing. We still had Philly to go do a press run. We had Miami to do a press run. Then we gotta go to Puerto Rico.
Correct.
Everything is good in Philly. Keep the treaty, nobody brings up what happened in New York.
Correct.
Everything is good in Miami.
Correct.
Then you get to Puerto Rico. And Felix Trinidad, in your words, he broke the treaty.
He broke the treaty.
He slammed on the table and he said, "You threw my flag down?" What happened after that?
Chaos. People throwing magazines, newspapers.
No, you gotta walk me through it, because you wrestled the flag out of Don's hand. You gotta walk me through it. Once he said that, what's your next move in your mind?
You want me to do the part?
Yeah.
So, we left Miami, smooth. We headed to San Juan. A couple of people that wanted to come and some didn't want to come, they came with me. Bowie, James, Sharif, Nazim, of course. We boarded a plane, San Juan. Plane land, all the dogs, police, canines, waiting for us to get off the plane. No smiles, straight, serious. They pointed where we needed to go. They motorcade us down one of their highways, major highways, to Gilberto Coliseum. We get there. It's packed. It's free for the island. It's over 6,000 people there. And it's a Trinidad rally.
It's a Trinidad
rally,
for sure.
It's a Trinidad rally.
Yeah.
So we get there, obviously, they shouting, and we walk them through, we get them through, we get to the podium. Don King kicks it off. They call us up individually to speak.
Don had his flags.
Don,
Viva Puerto
Viva
Rico!
Puerto Rico! Viva Puerto Rico!
Don crazy, man.
And he started naming the fighters, and then he named me, then he called us up, and I said what I said. The peace treaty was smooth. We talked about it in New York. We talked about it in Philly. Great. Miami, no hostility. Everything is cool. We get to San Juan. I get up on the podium. I do my X. I do my throat slash, and I get the crowd riled up. Tito gets on the podium, stands at the podium, and he says a few words in Spanish. Then the interpreter says it in English. And then he said, "When you threw my flag," it got about 5 seconds and it went crazy. He broke the treaty. I looked, everybody else looked. They throwing things at us. My team and everybody up front. I go into my act. I'm, giving them the finger, throat slashing, jump on the table. I'm like, I'm doing all I need to do now to say, okay, it's on. He broke the treaty. So Tito, they pushing him back. They getting him out of the way. They rushes us. What I mean, the crowd all of a sudden storms forward.
But you threw the flag down first.
But listen, this is what happened. They storming forward, they throwing stuff. Don King is still, Viva Puerto Rico, Viva Puerto Rico. So I'm here, Trinidad on his left side, Don on the podium. Video's out there. I grabbed and threw the flag down because I knew that would make everything basically just be over. And once I grabbed the flag and threw the flag down, it became chaos. It became a riot, basically.
Pandemonium.
Pandemonium. And then we got out of there. How did we get out of there, Drake?
Barely.
How did we get out of there? I mean, look, it was bigger than us that got us out of there.
I don't know how
The law
all of y'all got out of there.
Because Nazim Bowie was the last one that we let in the room we was locked in. They was holding the door. Drake.
After you jumped through over
I had to jump down like maybe, I guess, 1 story and a half, like bleachers.
Yeah.
Like, it was a nice jump.
And then you had to.
And then they pointed this way, the cops. They was there, they just pointed. So obviously we went that way. Now once me, James, Bowie, Sharif, we in a room holding the door.
They trying to get in?
They trying to get in. We out of breath. James don't have his shoes. Sharif, his shirt unbuttoned, then try to take his shirt off, right? We holding, and listen, we really scared, but we laughing at the same time. Where's Bowie?
Oh, he went back there?
Where's Bowie? So James is looking to where my pop at? I said, man, we go out there, to get him, we done. I said, we don't know where he at.
It's over.
So Bowie knocks on the door.
Oh, he not gonna do it.
He had a newspaper. Listen, oh man. Bowie had a newspaper like the old heads do. Anybody that see this, they got an old head in their neighborhood that hangs around in the area. He had a newspaper with rubber bands around it. He said he was fighting his way through the crowd, and they let him through the crowd to the door.
Bowie said, I'm getting out of here.
Bowie said he was stabbing him. I said, Bowie, they ain't want to do nothing to you. Just like I told Bowie.
With the magazine?
I said, Bowie, they ain't want to do nothing to you, man. You got through there with a magazine and said, man, I was just walking through there. You know, he had a toothpick. You know, Bowie keep the toothpick.
He keep the toothpick,
He keep the toothpick. He had his glasses on. They wasn't like this. His glasses weren't turned, right? He said he walked through. I said, Boo, they let you through. They ain't want to mess with you. When things settled down, this one that same day we said this, like as time went on, we started doing interviews and time went by, we really sitting back, relaxed, talking about it now. And I said, Bowie, tell him what happened. Bowie come walking through smooth, and he said he was stabbing him with the newspaper. He had a magazine balled up, and he said he was hitting people. I got through.
He said he got
through by stabbing people through the magazine, and he got to the door. I said, Bowie, they ain't want to hurt no 80-something-year-old man.
They ain't want to mess with you.
They knew who you was.
But
So they spared.
Hey, he survived though. I got real tears, by the way, man. This is crazy.
They spared my training. I mean, thank God they spared Bowie. So we all now is trying to figure out how we're going to get out. Yo, they had one of those tropical storms.
Yeah.
Like, you know, anybody know about tropical storms? They had one of them for like at least a half hour.
You couldn't move.
We couldn't move. We had to stay there. Fans were dispersing. They was, you know, of course.
Oh, they was leaving?
Some was staying and some was, majority was leaving because the rain. It was a free event. The stadium was being cleared out. They was letting everybody out. They wouldn't let them stay inside, obviously, because they know they're going to start trouble with us. They needed to get us to the airport. From there, straight to the airport. And they eventually got us there when it slowed up. The rain slowed up. They got us in the car. They got us right on the plane. They start asking for our ID and passports on the plane. They didn't do the traditional check at the booth. You do this. They wanted to get us on the plane. And then 2 people came on the plane and asked for the ID and the air, because they had to do it on the plane. It was so chaos because there's people still in the airport that was coming and going. Some wasn't there, some just there, vacation. Whatever it was, they didn't want us to be checking in. They took us, I'll never forget, they took us straight to our plane. They got us on the plane. We didn't leave right away till like maybe 45 minutes to an hour because they had to get our passports or our license and ID.
Yeah. So this fight, man, so your back was already to the wall. 36 at that time, right?
Yeah.
You 36 years old. They considering you the old guy. And I got a lot of love for Tito. And Tito was the guy. People expected, I remember that. People expected him to knock you out, just what it was.
Just got the split decision, I guess, or decision over Oscar, I believe. Yeah, I think he just...
I don't know the timeline.
Yeah.
But I know, he did what he did to Joppy. And it's Tito Trinidad. Punch of power, left hook, all that stuff. But then you do what you just did in Puerto Rico. You got the age thing going against you. They don't like how you moving. You outspoken, you brash, you doing all the stuff. Everything you not supposed to do. And that's one of my favorite fights. It's one of my favorite fights because I'm a mental guy. I'm not just looking at what you got on and, oh, that's a good left hook. I'm watching from the time the fight is announced to the time the first bell ring and everything you did up to that point, and I'm watching you all the way through. And you see, man, you walk into the ring, the crowd was
And Tarver.
It's crazy.
Trinidad. Yeah, it was Madison Square Garden.
It's crazy. So
9/11.
September 15th.
It was postponed
to September 29th.
That's my history.
Because of 9/11.
Correct.
But
More pressure.
Yeah, you can feel the energy in the room. Like you walk into the ring, and I'm like, he in the zone. Like you see him, but you don't see him. And as this fight is unfolding, seemed like it's not a lot going on. Seemed like it's gonna be a regular Tito Trinidad kind of night. B-Hop moving, Tito stalking, and he throwing a big left hook.
Did you listen to the commentating?
Oh yeah, I watched
Please
it all.
listen to the
Yeah, commentating, corner work, all that. And I'm just seeing incrementally the breakdown, but Tito and his father don't see it. Because right around the 5th, 6th round, he's asking his dad, am I winning? Yeah, you're winning, son. Just keep going, But I'm thinking like, I don't know what the scorecard's reading, but this fight is shifted. Now you staying there a little bit longer. Bang, catch, counter, bang, bang. You ain't moving no more. Man, that's one of the coldest masterpiece performances of a breakdown of a great puncher. Not just a good puncher, a great puncher, a great champion, and somebody that hadn't been turned away. He was undefeated at that time. What's your take on the fight, the quick version? And then I'm also at this. And then you also hear Nas, man, Nas coached that
Swim
night.
without getting wet.
Swim without getting wet, but he kept saying stuff like, we took the cast off. I know it's an issue in the back with the raps and stuff like that, but I don't care who was against you that night, you wasn't losing that night based on what I saw.
No. Strategically, systematically broke him down based on the mummy style that he has. The mummy style. He has to set, and then he throws the left hook. Trinidad never throws the left hook off the fly. He never throws it in position. He has to set. That 1/10 of a second or less than that, he always have to set before he fires. He has to load, lock, and shoot. Once I realized that, by studying Tito, I kept one step ahead of every movement he made. If you look at that fight again and just watch my feet, you would see to the left, to the right, wherever I needed to go to make him offset that set stance that he needed to be in, that he's comfortable being in. And if I trap him, which I did, to sit there to give them the illusion that I'm there, let me tell you where this come from. Bowie Fisher and Nazim, mainly Nazim, had a tennis ball. Through the 8 weeks of camp, I had to spar with good fighters, some contenders, that I had to keep a tennis ball here and still fight 3 rounds, 4 rounds, get out, you get in, 3 rounds, and never get out. Every time that ball dropped, it's a round. And sometimes I got in that ring, I did 13 rounds, 12 rounds. So that tennis ball had me mindful that no matter what action I'm into,
Keep that.
this can't come down at all. Trinidad left hook had that so much. I remember the back of my right hand was so lumped up and swollen.
Really?
And I never had no injuries. That method, that strategy of making sure that you don't be, and you get caught with that hook. I watched that, especially with the Oscar fight, because in other fights, the William Joppy fight, he hit him with the left hook. Trinidad knockouts came from the left hand.
And fear.
In fear. So I really took that and neutralized that left hand with my right hand without even throwing it.
What the power feel like when you first got hit on the glove?
I bet I get hit with that in the
You felt
chin.
that?
Absolutely.
You felt
I've
that?
said this many times. If I didn't have that right hand and went through those 8 weeks of training with that strategy, and I got a pretty decent chin, as you know. Not by your experience, but as you know. It would have gave anybody trouble, and myself, because I've been knocked down by less punches.
Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah, that strategy that Nazim and my team knew that the left hook has to be taken away. And if you look at that fight, and anybody here that's listening, go say, let me punch it in, man, because I know I watched it before, but I'm going to watch that left hand, that right hand, and I kept it here. Wop, 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 wop. Even with combinations, I brought it right back up. I never brought it here. I never dropped it down. I kept that right hand because I thought about the tennis ball. Through all that action, through all that 9/11, through all the singer policemen, Jim Brown, who I met personally in California at his house, came to my fight. There was all the dignity, John McCain, the senator, because of the Muhammad Ali Act I stood up for. They came. This is a big event. And most of it was because of 9/11. It brought people that didn't even probably want to come to boxing, especially in New York City, in Madison Square Garden. It was my time to shine, even though we was being out media because of the tragedy that's still on people's mind. And you got 20,000 people in one place in New York City after 9/11. Don't seem like a safe bet 2 weeks after 9/11. So Dre, this was one of my brightest moments, but couldn't really celebrate it like I believed that it would, but not to also be selfish about it, because I understand
Tragedy.
that we had to deal with it. And this when it came to this. This when it came to understanding no matter what's happening, no matter what it is, if the fight's still on, it's gonna be a stronger mind, not necessarily a better talent, that's gonna win this fight. That separates me from anybody in boxing to the day. And that's what I take then and I take into the future, is that you keep this in check and never, never, never underestimate it or disrespect it, and keep it clean, that you have a more than a chance to be successful.
So you can have a great game plan. You can have a great camp. I mean, Bowie coached a magnificent fight too. You heard him all throughout the night. He don't like that jab. It ain't got to be hard.
That set it up.
Just he don't like that jab.
Dre, before you said it, that jab,
but it wasn't hard though.
Trinidad, it was only to offset him, because he got a set. If that jab in his face, as Bowie, keep that jab in his face, he got to, and didn't go. If that,
You caught him right there.
boom,
Yep.
and then he gonna start all over. He don't throw off that, boom, bam, throw right back. He don't do pop, do that. He gotta get the rhythm And that's why Bowie said, the stick, keep that jab in his face, because he gonna start all over. And I'll be able to lead him down that dark alley, and then I mug him.
Well, you did that. That's an all-time great fight in the history of the sport, in my mind. I've watched that fight so many times when I was active and even in retirement, if I want to get that feeling again. And I've also directed so many young fighters when they facing that type of fighter and they don't understand the process of the breakdown. I say, go watch that. You got to see how this. But the difference maker though, you can have you had two great coaches, rich history coming from Philly. You know, the coaches know how to coach in Philly. And the game plan, but you got to have the emotional stability and the mental toughness and the wherewithal to be able to shoulder all that pressure and not lose your head. You could have a great camp. When that pressure hit, you forgot to keep that hand up though. Now you're not just talking about Trinidad, you facing him. He's there, it's right in your face.
Anxiety.
Now it's that left hook you've been hearing about, now you feeling it. The guys that can take that and stay within themselves and remember what the game plan is or be reminded in the corner in between rounds and then get back on track, that's the guys that elevate in the moment.
And even the piggyback on that, even in that 12 rounds, I still was conscious of what the judges might think. Mm-hmm. I've been through this before. And guess what I said to myself? And Bowie said to me, and I said to myself as I got ready for the next round, let's finish him. See, I could have just jab and jab. No. Oscar did that, and he lost the decision.
Yeah. Just never know.
Know what I said? I'm going to get him, Bowie. I went out, stopped him in the 12th round because I wanted to take it out of the judge's hands because I knew he had powerful people, had a powerful promotional behind him, and he had a powerful marketing behind him, which is Felix undefeated Tito Trinidad. And I couldn't take no chances and wouldn't take no chances. I had to stop him, Dre. Well, B, you was winning them rounds, man. You was winning from, no. That's to your eyes. I wanted to go out and stop him. And that was the seal of the deal. That fight there, they knew. When I say they, the industry, not all, but most of them, knew that it was going to be a problem going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that fight propelled you into the Oscar De La Hoya fight.
But you know how I got that fight?
Well, I'm about to ask you right now. Because you
talk about business, you know business, right?
A little bit.
All right, go ahead and ask me.
So you no longer had Lou DiBella.
No.
Y'all had an issue, don't want to get into that, but that he was no longer representing you. Are you representing yourself?
Lou DiBella was the mouthpiece
for the tournament.
Lou DiBella was mouthpiece for the tournament because I wasn't going to get nowhere with Don King, and Lou DiBella had the old HBO experience where he came from. Lou DiBella...
Do you give him credit for securing that for you?
I gave him $800,000. Lou DiBella got paid almost $1 million.
But do you give him credit, though, and say, man, you did that, I appreciate that?
For making the deal?
Making that deal.
Would he have done it if I wouldn't have gave him $800,000?
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay. That's a good comeback. So 3 years later, you and Oscar De La Hoya, this the cash cow in the game. Did you negotiate that, head up?
What, Oscar De La Hoya?
The fight, the negotiations for that fight, money.
Yeah, I paid 90% part of it. I have a mouthpiece, and then at the end of the day, I had to pull the trigger. Means that I got all the information I need to have. What is it? What are they paying me guaranteed? Second, what are they giving to me foreign sale rights? I want to dig into the foreign sale rights.
Sponsorships.
Gate.
Did you share in that, or did Oscar say, this your money, man?
No, I shared in that, but Top Rank did the fight. I got a pay-per-view, right? I didn't share the gate. All that stuff comes in the promotion. But far as the pay-per-view numbers, I shared pretty decent money from that. Not millions, right? But I got some decent money from that because that was what I needed to get after it hit a certain amount of number in the pay-per-view.
Got you.
The guarantee was nice.
Career
I got
high.
$10 million.
Yeah, I know. I did my right. I didn't want to say the number, but you said it.
Right.
It's career high, though, right?
Correct.
At that time.
Correct.
So to me, I think I was at that fight. And it's Mandalay MGM.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I remember a reporter and it definitely might be out there if you get one of the press conferences and look it up, because nothing go away. They, whatever, especially nowadays. I remember reporters saying, "Hey, Bernard, Oscar's getting $30 million to fight you. You got all the belts. You're fighting for the vacant WBO belt, which no champion ever had the 4-belt era." See, with Dre, I got to remind him.
4-belt era.
I started the 4-belt era. If you look at the boxing right now, because this podcast is going to educate a lot of people, then I want you to do your research. See, they're going to bury it, and don't want you to know what I've done. There's some still haters, some dead and some not. I became the first of the 4-belt era. The undisputed, I already accomplished that with Tito, correct?
3-belt era.
The 4-belt era was because Oscar wanted to be the first to become 10 weight division champion in boxing, means win 10 world championship in the division. That's why he wanted to fight me, Oscar, for the vacant WBO belt. That was the only belt that I didn't have. So that's when I became the 4-belt era beginner. And now the 4-belt era was everybody had the WBA, WBC, and IBF. The WBO was like, okay, the 4th belt, but not the strongest out of the 3, as far as popularity was, correct? So I became the first in the 4-belt era. Then I wanted to make sure that history will reflect that, and it does. Speaking of that, before I lose my thought, I lost a good friend like we all did in boxing. And we shared history together, and we talked about it briefly. You follow me on my Instagram, and you see me and Big George with our watches from the WBC like this recently. Why do me and George have a friendship and had a friendship like most people, especially now, are going to say they had? But I got receipts too. And we all got stories in the boxing world, majority of us, whether it's from the convention here, there, or speaker tone, whatever. The one thing, Dre, about George, we both have history in common. If you look up the oldest world champion that winning world champion, you see George, who was first, and then Bernard Hopkins, correct? Now, the baton, tell you how things work. 360, I didn't plan this coming out of Greater Ford. I strive for it, but I didn't plan it to go the way it did. Y'all all would leave this room right now and be like, man, this guy crazy. But I had a vision of doing things that I know could be done once I realized it in my vision. Now that George, who was the first world champion, the oldest, beat Michael Moore. When Jim Lampley and I talked years ago, and I want you to ask him this, Dre, because I just talked to him 2 days ago and congratulate him on his commentating returning in New York City. Ryan Garcia fight. I said, when I beat Trinidad, can you just say it happened? I want to hear that historic 3 words. It happened. It happened. It happened. That's when George Foreman knocked out Michael Moore after coming back after years of retirement, and no one gave him a chance. And he hit him with a 1-2 and knocked Michael Moore out and became the oldest world champion in boxing. And that record he held until I became the oldest champion in boxing. Yes, he's the oldest in the heavyweight division, and I'm the oldest in my division. But if you say boxing, I got the baton right now until someone else get it, correct? Mm-hmm. So the baton has been passed of age of excellence to me. That's what history does for history makers. And that's why I'm glad I secured that then, didn't know that I'd be talking about this in this way now. I just wanted to throw that in here. Big George.
Man, there's a lot we could say about him. Back to this Oscar fight. You stop Oscar with a sneaky left hook to the body in the 9th round. What do you have to say to people that say, that was fixed. He wasn't hurt. That wasn't a strong shot. What do you have to say to people that say that?
What would I say to people that say that wasn't a strong enough shot for Oscar not to get up? I would say, have you ever been hit in the liver?
Probably not.
Have you ever been hit in the liver?
Mm-hmm.
When I say that to people, guess what? They look at me and I say, don't say nothing because you said it already.
Right.
Until you get hit in the liver, you will understand that the liver is not supposed to be hit on. I heard the gasp, and I knew he wasn't getting up. The timing of it was more than a punch. As an athlete, you and I know, and anyone else out there will understand, even if you're not an athlete, if you get the wind knocked out of you,
it's a problem. I'd rather get hit in the face.
you could shake a head shot.
Yeah, I'd rather get hit in the face.
You could shake a buzz shot.
Yeah.
But how do you shake a liver shot? How do you stop air being forced out of you by an accurate punch that's timed with the punch you threw, but missed, and you out there? I don't want to get hit with no shot like that, and I have got hit like that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you who hit me with that shot that took me off my game, and I mentioned this at many interviews. You know who I'm talking about, RJ.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that first fight, and Roy hit me with that left hook to the body, and he jumped from across the ring. You know, he had that leaping, and the reaction of anyone to get hit with a punch by him leaping, doing something very unorthodox that we are told not to do. Dre, I held that right hand
The rest of the night.
and didn't let it go, and that was part of this taking me away from my game. But yeah, that was a timeless, but a shot that was so accurate, and one of the, I would say, one effective shot that fighters today should understand: kill the body, the head will fall.
Jermaine Taylor. My thinking back then, seeing a young dude from Little Rock, Arkansas, he's strong, wild. A lot of times, those are the hardest guys to fight. He ain't really got a style, but he strong as an ox and he can
Country
punch.
strong.
Got that right hand.
Correct.
He ain't got nothing else, but he's not
And it's
traditional.
coming like this.
Yes, he's not traditional. I didn't necessarily like that matchup for you. Was that something you felt pressured to do? Because it's like, okay, this the young HBO guy. How did that fight come about? And talking about the first two fights, I know you thought you won. You thought you won both of them?
The first one, of course.
You give him the second one?
Yes. I could have did more in the second one, but the first one, I believe I won.
Why did you fight him?
Because dare to be great is to be great. And I wanted to show the world that this era that I live in, we fight all the upcoming, all the current, and any threat that seems to be one, come on with it. And these are the things you do, I feel, that you have to do to get the respect now and later. We don't see that today. And Dre, that's why. Was this fight dangerous? Correct. Was Trinidad fight even dangerous? Correct. But in doing these things that is unusual in this generation will make me who I am and my legacy with respect and dignity. You can't put a price on that. And that's what I want to be remembered by. Not by things that can be replaced. I won't be replaced. Records get broken, but what I've done and who I am will end with me. in my time of
The legacy remains.
legacy.
Yeah, legacy
Correct.
remains. Now the 10 some odd plus year middleweight run, shockingly for a lot of people, came to an end. Now you're about 40 years old, you know, and you promised your mother that you would stop at 40. Why did you not stop at 40?
Because I believe that she know that I'd have been regretting what I didn't accomplish or what I could have accomplished. And you know why I look at that, Dre, as being something, even though she wasn't here to say it, knowing my mom and I'll always be able to convince her that I didn't do it.
Right. Right.
I ran off 8 to 10 fights in between 40 and when I retired at 52. I do believe that she's sitting there right there, up there, and she negotiating as much as she can when I do make the wrong move, that it don't kill me and destroy me. And this was one of those times where I was reminded by reporters every defense, every challenge about you promise your mom, you promise your mom, you promise your mom, you promise your mom. And I answer that back as the success after promised my mom after 40 and was blessed to go another decade. I don't think it's a hard argument from others to say that she wasn't on my side. And that's where I say, alhamdulillah, that I got a chance to leave the game on my terms and let people understand that I didn't plan it. It's how my life has been, and I understand that everything is full circle. And I'm going to say full circle in my life, in my time, in my from my sanity of knowing how things is full circle, is what's coming next in this half of lifetime, if numbers don't lie. My first fight, how I wrap this up and how I think, pretty deep, but it makes sense to me. My first fight to Clinton Mitchell, I lost, correct? In between that first fight, I established a hell of a historic, talked about for decades career, correct? I seal the deal and lose my last fight, correct?
Yeah.
Be afraid for those who think I'm done. Out of the ring, yes. But they should be preparing for what I'm gonna do next in the second half of my life. And that necessarily don't mean nothing dealing with sports. It's understanding I'm in competition with myself means to keep me productive for the future of my family, my son, my daughters. The first fight, split decision. Second fight, TKO. Historic moments in the middle. I ended the way I started. So those who are sleeping at the wheel, preach.
Yeah.
Those who don't understand why I think that way, they don't know me, Dre. Because they haven't been listening. They hear me, but they haven't been listening. There's a difference between those two things, hearing and listening. And that's how I've been winning in life.
Yeah.
Oh, he talking, okay.
Well, you've been coming out on top for a long, long time, you know, and I don't know how many lives you had in the sport. Let the media and the pundits and the announcers tell it. And, you know, after you lose to Taylor, it's finally over. He's done. The reign is over. You defy the odds, skip super middleweight, go up 2 weight classes, you work a Mackie Shieldstone, and you face a guy that's not easy to fight. Very sneaky fighter, very skillful fighter, big, physically strong, and he knows how to fight. And Antonio Tarver, and you make it look easy. How?
Athleticism of minds that I have that's not matched up with any of those in my era as being better. I let them decide it, and I never said I was or wasn't. But a lot of it had to do with knowing who I am and always ready for a challenge. See, to me, Dre, I hit a warden. We're gonna go back to an hour plus of that warden conversation. All my doubters of any challenge that I must face, business or sports or athleticism back then, or even convincing a team or a business team that this is the right move to get this land. I'm telling you, this neighborhood gonna change. We couldn't do this what we doing right now, 15, 10 years ago. Y'all wouldn't come down here. These cameras be gone. I might can't even keep the wolves off you. There are neighborhoods in your community like that. But what I've learned, that everybody ain't gonna believe your vision. Everybody ain't believe your vision from the Olympics to now. But I believe it. And that's why I'm gonna continue to be who I am.
Now, most of the time, you winning on the chessboard. But I just got done talking to Joe Calzaghe. That whole Vegas scene that y'all had, that was planned by him. Now maybe you got a different take on it, but
No, it was.
He knew he had a couple left. He said, Hopkins is the guy, like heavyweight, Ring Magazine champion. That's who I want to fight. Frank Warren told him he'll never come to Wales. He said, I don't care if he comes to Wales. I just want to fight. I'll go to the U.S. So he bought a ticket, got a cheap seat. I think it was for the fight Ricky Hatton and Floyd Mayweather.
Yep.
But he kind of smoked you out, and he got into the back and forth at the, I don't know if it was the weigh-in or the press conference.
I think it was the press conference.
But you made the infamous comment,
Yeah.
I'll never lose to a white boy.
Yeah.
And Joe, Joe said when I heard him say that, I knew I had him. He's paying attention now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you guys say about that?
Well, never say something you can't back up, because I lost about 2 or 3 white boys since then. So let me tell you something. let me tell you something.
You gotta walk that back?
Listen. Let me tell you something. I wanted to send a profound controversy message out there that for decades, there's been a rival between cultures of athletes or fighters. Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney, Muhammad Ali,
Go down the list, yeah.
Jerry Quarry, go down the list, there's more than one. Myself, others. I wanted to make sure that if this fight's gonna happen, that it has to be something that get the world of the sport of boxing and non-sport of boxing fans riled up.
That comment did it.
Because guess what? We always in a culture warfare, whether it's fun, athletic, or serious than that. Politically, it seems it would never go and probably go away. So I wanted to be sincere and believe that. Because listen, when you grow up, no excuse, but let me give you some evidence of why that demeanor then was suitable, with no regrets.
To this day, you don't regret it?
No. At that time, that's what I felt. And I wanted to make sure that I let them know why I felt that. Even though it wasn't politically a right statement to say, but I'm not in the political business.
Never been.
I said what I felt I needed to say at that moment. You said you coming into my neighborhood and beat me, or you coming to my neighborhood and beat us in basketball, or you coming to my neighborhood, y'all didn't come over this line. I got a flashback from those moments of experience of growing up or understanding it was always us against y'all.
Yeah.
It was always y'all against us in a way of y'all, that particular culture and that mindset is that I had to do above and beyond to get in that position, even though I was qualified. I wanted to make this thing not only a fight, but I want to make it a thing amongst my group, my culture against your culture, because we got this culture locked down in every aspect at that time in every sport. It wasn't too many people coming from any other part of the country. Now it is. Look at the NBA. And I'm not saying it is right as good. I think it's great. But I knew back then, I knew at that moment, I wanted to show that I would never let, at that time, white boy beat me in anything. Because that was something I wasn't taught. That was something I lived. That we had to be better than them. And that statement came out based on that particular mindset at that time.
So Joe is an extremely talented, gifted. He's a great fighter. Very difficult to deal with. Do you think you won that fight?
Yeah.
You thought you won to this day?
I think my words took that fight from me. Dwayne Ford, you ever heard of Dwayne Ford?
Oh, yeah.
He gave the referee, there are 3 judges, in case people out there don't know, that's ringside. And the referee got to get the slip from each judge. Dwayne Ford gave his slip and left his chair. Very, very, very unusual to give the slip and leave your post. I'm not saying that they don't have to or they shouldn't, but he left after giving his slip, and that's the one that
got you.
gave Joe Calzaghe a split decision, even though I knocked him down on the first round.
First round, yeah.
That statement, I believe, cost me the fight. Allegedly, Dwayne Ford said the slip to the ref. He said a white boy never beat him, and he left his post. So split decision goes to Joe Calzaghe, which you and I know is kind of unusual for a champion to lose a split decision, especially in that era. I said, okay. What happened after that fight?
Pavlik.
Well, they knew, when I say they, that they didn't do a clean execution on me. But they realized that they will give me another person that's non-color. Because what he did to Jermaine Teller, they want to believe the lie of the split decision of the first fight. See, keep the split decision in your mind. It's a pattern here. I'm a great storyteller, but the truth is what it is. I got the receipts out there. So they wanted to clean up the lie that they seen and that they know. We got Pavlik for you. Why? Because he knocked out Jermaine Teller, exposed that. Jermaine Teller went 20-something rounds with me. He ain't no more good. Anyone that goes 20-something rounds in a fight with B-Hop, trust me, the damage is within. You can't see it, but it's within. Here first, and everything else fall into place. So y'all feed Jermaine Teller to Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik knocks him out after suffering almost a knockdown himself, and it said, you know, one of the telltale signs when they know they got somebody that they know they can beat you? When the negotiations ain't hard. What you want, we got it.
Too easy.
Did I ask for too less? And then that fight took place in Atlantic City. And I told Kelly Pavlik, please look at the receipts of that fight and look at after the fight was over. And when he see me, I was talking to him in the corner. I went over, fight's over, and I said, you have a great career if you don't let this fight damage you.
Cold for that, though. Come on. You do what you did to that man, and you tell him that?
I went over to the corner. When you see me go over to that corner, Brother Nazim, I know he's looking down. There's a few people still here, and I went over to Kelly Pavlik. Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant is saying he's talking to, and I'm telling him, you got to pull the tapes up when you leave and text me and say, yo, B, I pulled it up. I see you in the corner. I'm telling Kelly Pavlik, I'm giving him encouragement. I'm telling him, don't let this fight destroy you. You got a career. This is only your first loss. He went right to the alcohol bottle after that.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's tough.
He drunk himself into another world and bounced back. I heard he's doing well. I sing my blessings out to him. He had the podcast or something they was doing something. I heard he's doing well. But that teaching that he received and the lie that they told him that I was ready for pickings because of what the politics have done. Now, I'll take a loss like a man, just like I'll take a win like a man. But I had a chance to redeem myself, not for what I didn't do, what they didn't do and what they did. And I told him, don't let this destroy you. And guess what? As far as his career, it did. Wouldn't you agree? It destroyed him.
Yeah, no, he wasn't the same after that. That wasn't, the fight was a masterpiece. Nazim said in the build-up, he said, we're going to put that right hand in the trunk, and he never going to see it. And that's exactly what happened. My favorite moment post-fight was you getting emotional, staring out at press row and watching, and man, I felt that. I felt every bit of that. I felt it.
I ain't say one word.
I felt it.
It's all here.
Essentially, you saying y'all was wrong again.
I looked at the whole crowd like this. I looked right in their face. I looked at the whole media. I looked at everybody. It wasn't the fans. I went to the media and I just stared at my lips start shaking.
Yeah, I seen it.
And I'm just looking at them.
Press row.
Remember, you said earlier, we said to each other, sometimes just saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. Man, you go off of that high and you face another young gun, but you go to his home country, Jean Pascal, some majority draw, but then you beat him in the second fight, you make the adjustments, and you broke your own record, right? With that second fight?
Yeah.
Became the oldest man to win a world title?
Correct. Jean Pascal was strong.
And unpredictable.
And can fight. And Canadian. We talked about this over and over, right, Dre? The mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Never leave out the most highlight of that fight, especially the second one, the Montreal fight. How do you, at 40-something years old, fighting a guy that can fight, that's well-established, strong, 20-something years old, and you find seconds to do 8, 9 push-ups while he's sitting down at an HBO championship fight?
Well, that was the alien. You wasn't executioner no more.
Did you see me? I was an alien.
You wasn't B-Hop no more.
No.
You was the alien.
I was an alien. And I'm glad you said that too, but did you see the push-ups?
I seen it.
See, when I say this, we can talk about that. Well, okay, he keep talking about that. Where is that in the playbook? It wasn't. Where is that? Who reminded me in the corner to do that? Nobody.
I didn't know what you was doing.
That instinct of knowing that this young man and beat me to the corner. I got a time to win the crowd of his fans and the Canadians and do those 78 push-ups. Made him look over the shoulder of his trainer as he sits And he wondering where all this noise coming from. Why are the crowds laughing and joking and clapping? Now they become my fans. Fight's over, buddy. Now, physically, no. Mentally, yes. Now I gotta take you through the process of the finishing.
You go from that to facing a common opponent that we got, Chad Dawson. Really good fighter, skillful.
Awkward.
Southpaw. Just athletic. And first fight was a draw. No, the first fight was an injury. Second fight was he beat you.
Yes.
He actually called me out after that fight.
Yes.
That's how our history started. Like, I'm watching the fight. I wasn't even thinking. I was just enjoying the fight.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about Chad, and he let Gary Shaw get in his ear and let them endorphins get him in trouble where he called me out, which was crazy because I wasn't thinking about him. Are you thinking after that fight? Are you thinking you might be done after that Chad Dawson fight, the second one, or do you know it's more of a stylistic thing that you're dealing with?
I knew. Listen, I was always being pressured at a certain time in my career. Is this the last one? And I knew the second Chad Dawson fight wasn't gonna be my last one.
You knew it wasn't?
I knew it wasn't. Based on the physical stress that I didn't take from the first fight and the second fight. And again, it was knowing how I felt after those fights and what am I chasing? Am I fighting just to fight or I'm fighting for something? So I didn't want to leave the game at that time, even though there was 2 losses. Well, one, because the injury, the first one. And I said, no, I gotta come back and clean this one up. And that was the motivation. That was my motivation. I knew when I was gonna retire, it was just win.
Yeah, but after that fight again, reports of your demise are widely spread.
Yeah.
And you come back again against another young lion from Tallahassee, Florida, I believe, Tavares Cloud, and you beat him.
At the Barclay.
Yeah, I was there. I commentated that fight.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see if you remember this though. Post-fight. So I was at a point in my career, I think it was 2012 was this fight, where it wasn't a lot of public conversation, but it was rumblings about, man, you could possibly fight Bernard. You know?
I remember
You was one weight class above me. I'm 68, you 175. And I'm in this tough spot because you one of my legends. You know how I feel about you and Nas and the whole family, but it's like...
And sending you those boxing shoes from Florida.
All that, right? But we've been in contact throughout the years, but I'm at a point now where I got to man up, where it's like, I may have to fight this dude.
Right.
So my mind has to shift. So boom, I called a fight, and I remember after the fight, you came over to ringside.
Right.
And you saying something to me, like you doing it in your way. You boisterous,
Yeah.
But I'm kind of looking and I'm looking at you like, man, congrats, man, good fight. But
I'm doing it my way.
Right.
Sinatra, my way.
But it shifted though, because you kept talking to me. So I'm looking at it now like, man, we live on HBO. It started feeling like to me you was trying to sun me. Like,
I got a call from Jay Prince.
I called you.
Oh, you called me first, but Jay called me too.
I didn't know that. But look, let me tell you.
Ask him.
Look, so
ask him.
I'm shifting now where I'm like, so he's still going. I'm looking up like, man, I said congrats, man, and you still going, right?
Yeah, I'm
the whole way that night, the whole way home, I'm
thinking.
I mean, I'm like, man, B-How really, he just beat this dude like that, and he came over there and just sunned me on HBO.
While you commentating?
While I'm commentating, I got my headset on. It went from a congratulations to, oh, he really doing this right now.
Yeah.
So I had to run down the number, man. So I don't know if you remember, I called you Sunday morning.
Yeah, we talked.
I said, hey, Hop. I said, man, masterpiece, man. You did
and I'm tell him what I said.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
I
said, hey, man, I gotta holler at you though. What was that? What was that on Saturday? I said, man, I just want to make sure, You was like, nah, champ. I was just showing, man. I'm just telling you, man. That's how you deal with a guy like that. You was just saying, man, that's how you deal with a guy like that.
Correct. Yes.
But me being in that mode now, where it's like, hey, I'm trying to give my respect too. Man, I had to pick up that phone call and check your temperature, man.
It was the OG with a young fiery soul who wants to go ahead and establish himself.
Yes.
And you responded the way you needed to respond it. But I was letting you know as a man, as a champion,
Yeah.
as a person you respect, that I don't want none of that smoke right now. I ain't messing with you. I just got finished beating.
I think you said that on the call.
Hey, Dre.
I think you
I'm
said
telling
that.
you what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I said, man, nah. And Jay called me, Jay Prince, called me about a week or two after that fight, asked him. And Jay said, hey, man, I heard, man, you know, he real cool, hey, man, I heard, man, if you want to fight Dre, man.
You want to fight Dre?
I said, Jay, come on, man. No. I'm cool. I want to fight other people.
Yeah.
But Dre is my guy. I looked at myself as like, I ain't gonna say mentor, but to the point where
he was a mentor,
we got a relationship.
for sure.
We got a relationship.
He was a mentor for sure.
Like a relationship of respect and things like that. So no. And he said, oh, I just wanted to know. And that was dead after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. And I was happy about it because I was never a guy that wanted to face the guys that I grew up watching. That wasn't my thing.
Right.
I'm not trying to get a name off your name. Like, that's almost blasphemous to me. Like, I can't touch that.
But one thing I can say to you, thank you, and I said it openly, but I said it in front of your face. You revenge a few fights of mine that, I put it out there. I said, Dre came back and he revenged a few fights of mine. Kovaloff is one, and I think it's two more that you fought. And I was like, yeah, we like that as athletes. At least I'm like that, excuse me. That I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? And I'm still cool with the guys, speak, Kovaloff every now and then, if I'm at LA, something like that. But it was like a thing where like,
I felt that. I didn't appreciate that.
You got my back on that.
But speaking about the Kovalev fight, I heard about, the power, and I seen the knockouts, and I knew he was going to other guys' home country, but I could tell that those punches was hurting you. Yeah. But you were so wily, so you knew your way around that ring.
Correct.
But I'm like, I ain't never really seen Hop respond like that. I could see when he was touching, I'm like, man, he don't like that. That's when I became a believer about Kovalev's power, not because he was knocking out them other guys. Right. When I seen you having to go to plan B, C, and D to make sure you got to the end of that fight, I said, that's different. He could punch.
Yeah.
You winding it down now. You got a situation with a guy named Joe Smith. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You would have no other reason going into this fight to believe that you wouldn't call it up again.
Right.
Why couldn't you call it up again against a guy like that?
I think it was because the start and I guess the start of that fight, and also being in a position at that time on the ropes, which is no place for anybody to be, and not establishing right away how this fight's going to go from my perspective to him. Show him something right away that won't get me in trouble early, but also be able to take it down the line, take it down the road, kick the ball down the road to certain rounds, and then take over from my experience to his inexperience. That didn't happen. And I think part of that, of having that not aggressive, but not to the point where I wanted to establish myself right then and there and take that risk and that chance, I think that put me in position to be able to not execute what I wanted to do.
How did you deal with that loss in the coming weeks and months, and then how did you finally get to the decision to go out on that note?
I felt, to me, it was more of a relief. It was more relief because I wanted to make sure that I left out on my terms, one. Second, I know the risk even more based on age and based on who you're fighting. Look, he wasn't a superstar or a known guy that anybody could pick up and say, this could be a super fight. But it was credible enough and strong enough to be able to give a person problems that underestimate his ability. But I did not do that. I understood that this was going to be a fight in this weight division, which I've been comfortable at and been successful, that I have to be on my game. And it was someone that I picked out of the, I guess, 2, 3 people that was suitable for TV or suitable for the networks to pay for. And so I wanted Dare to be great, no matter what age it was, and you get bit by the snake sometimes. And so to me, Dre, it was a thing where, am I happy that I have a L instead of a W? No. Am I content where my career is not defined on my first or last based on what I've accomplished? No. And that's how you get over. Not forget, but that's how you get over to move forward and understand that you have to realize that when you're making any attempt to do something that haven't been done, it's a risk.
Well, brother, I appreciate your time, man. This has been special for me, man. Thank you. And
Respect.
You know, I could talk to you all day, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. We signing out from Philly. It's another episode of The Art of War. Hope you enjoyed it.
Where you get that Art of War from, man?
Huh?
Cause you know that be one of my favorite books, man. My Art of War.
Art of War, yeah.
Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, The Art of War.